Just the other day, I was chilling in my fancy room at the JW Marriott at Nandi Hills and I felt a cold breeze on my nose. Yeah, I know it's first world problems, the air conditioning is working very well, but the Hyundai Tucson, it actually reminds me of that, because in the Tucson, you won't have a cold draft on your nose. It's got the diffuse function, and these small vents out here, it's like an aeroplane where you have diffused cold air. It does that, and that's just one of the signs of the thoughtfulness that has gone into this new Tucson. Welcome to our first drive review of the Hyundai Tucson. If you enjoyed this video, do give us a thumbs up, share this video with like-minded enthusiasts, smash that bell icon and stay subscribed to the Evo India channel. And now let's show you the front, because the front, man, that's something else. Not another SUV. That was the brief by the Hyundai CEO, not the Hyundai India CEO, but the global CEO to his designers, to create something that was iconic. Now, I wouldn't call this iconic, but this sure as hell is different. This does not look like any other SUV that you can get your hands on. Hyundai design, it's been sort of up and down. So the earlier Tucson was nice looking, the first Creta was good looking, the second Creta was very questionable. But with this, okay, some people might question the design, but just look at it. There's no mistaking this for anything else. And personally, I think this is really cool. Also the tech on this. So when the lights are switched off, all these elements look the same as the grille. It's got a graphite coating inside, so it looks the same. But when the lights come on, the LED DRLs come on out here. These are the headlamps, obviously all LED headlamps. And the profile, again, completely changed from the earlier Tucson. So there are more slashes, there are more cuts. It is a busy design, but it's not too busy that you get fed up of it. This actually is very nice looking. You get roof rails, 18-inch wheels with slightly wider tires, and now it runs on MRF Wanderer tires. And over at the rear, as iconic or as interesting the front is, so too is the rear. How do you mistake this for anything else? Just look at it. It looks so cool, and some nice elements. So you might point out that there's no rear wash wipe, but that is hidden under the spoiler. Obviously, the kicking under the boot, that's old hat, so that happens, and it has got an electric tailgate. So all of that is there. It also has a much bigger boot now, but it remains a 5-seater. So earlier there was talk that the new Tucson, which would be more localized in India, would be a 7-seater, but this remains a 5-seater, because a 7-seater, there's just not enough space to squeeze in a third row. Will that create a problem in terms of buyers for the Tucson? I honestly don't think so. Have you ever seen somebody sitting in the third row? But this is the spec of the new Tucson. This Tucson, it's not a mere facelift. Okay, it's not exactly an all-new platform as well. It sort of sits somewhere in between. So the platform, they're now calling it the N3 platform, and it has been improved over the earlier Tucson. So you have 85 mm more in terms of wheelbase. Overall length has gone up by 150 mm. The space at the back, that has increased. It's become slightly wider, and the boot space has also gone up. So the platform is significantly revised, and in the way it rides, well, it still feels like the earlier Tucson, and I mean that in a very good way. Now the Tucson, when we first drove it, when the third generation first came to India, and we compared it with the Tiguan, and those days the Tiguan was the benchmark in terms of ride and handling for SUVs in this category, and I was honestly shocked, absolutely shocked, that the Tucson, it rode better, it handled a little better, and also it had more power than the Tiguan. And that was the first sign that the Koreans, they are taking the game and the fight to the Germans right in the heart of their territory. This new Tucson, well, the updated Tucson, in terms of the ride quality, it still has that slight firm edge, which honestly I like. It has that European sophistication to it, so it doesn't wallow, it doesn't pitch, it stays nice and planted. These roads are a little bumpy. You can feel the bumps, but it's not uncomfortable. So it takes it in that typical European fashion. The steering, now it has a little bit more weight, and it feels nice and involving. It doesn't feel disconnected, doesn't feel remote. The brakes, it's the only thing I think it is a bit too light and too sharp. so your foot really has to get used to it. But apart from that, dynamically, this really is sorted, and throw it around a few corners, it really grips. The front end, very good bite. The tires, these have become slightly wider, and they're now MRF Wanderer tires. Earlier, the Tucson, it came with Nexen tires. Now with the CKD, it's slightly more in terms of the local content. So now you get Indian-made tires, MRFs, 18 inches, and they provide good grip. These are eco-tread tires, so their main primary purpose is to give you better fuel efficiency. But in terms of the cornering, there's not too much of noise, there's good grip, good feedback also, so you feel confident in pushing the Tucson. And overall, I think it's very nice. Even the tactile feel, so the steering wheel with this nice meaty grips, all feels very nice. In terms of the powertrains, well, it remains the same. It's the same diesel, same petrol engine. The diesel engine, it makes 1 bhp more. So in total, it now puts out 183 bhp, whereas the torque has gone up by 60 Newton meters to 460 Newton meters. Now, in terms of the way it drives, well, it feels very familiar to the old Tucson in terms of its performance, in terms of the drivability, and in terms of the turn-off speed, in terms of the torque, for instance. There's the same amount of nice low-end grunt, especially because this has the 8-speed automatic gearbox. Now, if you remember earlier, the Tucson, it had the 6-speed automatic. Now that automatic gearbox is in the Safari and the Harrier, whereas this gets the more sophisticated 8-speed. The first gear is slightly shorter, so you get a little better acceleration. It also gives you a little better fuel efficiency because it's got a taller 8th gear. So overall, much nicer gearbox, mated to the engine really well. Now, in terms of the petrol, you get 4 bhp more, 156 bhp and 1 Newton meters more. But if you ask me, the powertrain to pick on the Tucson has to be the diesel. It is a little bit more effortless, a little bit more torquey. Okay, you can hear the diesel engine when you step on it, like you can hear the diesel engine. There's no mistaking this for anything but a diesel, but it's not intrusive, honestly. And this engine, that's the only engine that gets all-wheel drive. Now the all-wheel drive, it has been enhanced. So now you have terrain modes. So you have mud, sand, and I think slush. So 3 modes, but this is all-wheel drive. It is not 4-wheel drive. So it'll get you out of a bit of slush and slightly sticky situations, but you can't take the Tucson off-roading. This was never meant to go off-roading. This is a soft-roader, and it does soft-roading really well. Especially since the on-road dynamics are really good on the Tucson. So to cover long distances in the Tucson, it actually is really nice. We've experienced it in the past from our base in Pune. We've driven all over to the northeast, to the mountains up north of Ladakh, to the Run of Kutch, down south to the plantations of Chikmagalur, everywhere. And it has been a reliable partner all through. Actually, in terms of reliability, Hyundai, they offer an excellent program on the Tucson. So you get 3 years and 30,000 kilometers completely complimentary. So all your consumables, all the servicing, everything is taken care of for 3 years. You also get 3 years of complimentary roadside assistance, 3 years of the Blue Link subscription. So everything is there. Plus, 15 days after you bought the Tucson, a guy from the showroom will come home and he will talk to you about all the different features and everything that's there on the Tucson. And I suggest you take up that guy or lady's offer, because the Tucson has a whole bunch of features on it. So the Blue Link connectivity, it has enhanced, and now there are embedded voice commands. So earlier, if you didn't have internet, it would not recognize you. But now if you say, open sunroof,
opening the sunroof,
it opens the sunroof for you. Close sunroof.
closing the sunroof.
Honestly, these things are a bit gimmicky if you ask me, but it's a good thing to have. I guess everybody likes these small little things that make you happy. So what's the harm in it? You can also remotely start the car, cool the car. It has got Alexa integrated, so that Alexa to home or something like that. So that is also integrated in this. So a whole bunch of things. One thing they didn't point out was that there is no wireless CarPlay. So the sound system, it has been upgraded to an 8-speaker Bose sound system, but the connectivity, CarPlay, is not wireless, it is still wired. So that's one drawback that I can find with the Tucson. Now in terms of the design of the dashboard, well, just look at it. It's fabulous. It really is stunning. So you have this 10.25-inch floating digital cluster. You have another screen out here. It all works really well. The navigation, the menus, all are pretty well sorted out. You really don't want for anything. One thing, it still doesn't have paddle shifters for the automatic gearbox. But apart from that, cooled seats, heated seats, and a whole bunch of ADAS features. Now, this is something that I'm not really a big fan of, not because the technology is not good, but because India, there's so much of chaos. So you have somebody who steps out in front of the road, steps back, and the car detects that person and slams the brakes in the middle of the road. It happens with everything that has the emergency braking function. So out on the highway, all this works really well. It also has a nice cool feature. Say you are at a traffic signal and you are either talking to your wife or you're dreaming and the car in front starts moving on and you haven't seen the car, you haven't noticed it moving on, it'll tell you that the car head has moved, so get going. So that is a cool thing that I found. And also on the highway, ADAS works really well. It's a good safety feature, so if you're not 100% concentrating and something comes in front of you, this will warn you and then it will apply the brakes. These seats are also new compared to the earlier Tucson, so it's a little bit more supportive, little wider. It's cool, obviously. It's got this nice leather, so it does feel nice and plush. And another thing that I must point out on the Tucson, which even the earlier Tucson had, the sun visor, it has this extension. This is the thing that I first noticed on the Pajero. So when you're going off-roading, you have more sun coming through the sides, you can extend this edge even out here. I think this is a very nice touch, and I think all other SUV manufacturers should actually start implementing this. So where does the Tucson stand in Hyundai's overall scheme of things? Now you got to remember that the earlier Tucson, it was not really selling like hotcakes. It does maybe 100, 150 units a month. So small numbers, it is a niche product. But you have to remember that now there are tens of thousands of Creta owners and a lot of them will want to move up in life. Creta owners, they really have no problems with their car. They all love the service experience. So they are willing to stay within the family. What will they upgrade to? Something like the Tucson. Sure, it does not have a third row, it's not a 7-seater, but if you put that aside, it got both petrol as well as diesel. It has the option of all-wheel drive. It is comfortable. It looks really, really stunning. Very good interior. So the entire package is really good. And in terms of rivals, there aren't really too many. You have the Tiguan, but the waiting periods for it are huge and it is only petrol. You don't have the Kodiaq, the Jeep Meridian. Now that's a 7-seater, but that is only diesel. So does that really go up against the Tucson? I'm sure it does. And also, I should not forget, there is no Endeavour. So what do those Endeavour owners move to? Maybe a Fortuner, maybe a Scorpio, or maybe the Tucson. In fact, the Tucson sits in a really sweet spot, and maybe doing 1,000 units a month, well, it doesn't sound too optimistic if you ask me. In fact, if Hyundai can get enough kits, demand is massive. Today, it is a seller's market. Buyers are willing to wait and buyers are willing to pay whatever price manufacturers slap on their cars. So this, it has solid potential.